Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another third-party unlicensed figure unboxing and review video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at none other than the Toys era The Tank, aka the Juggernaut from Deadpool 2. I am super excited to finally have this guy in hand. Honestly, I never even thought in my wildest dreams that this was going to be made a reality, but no, Toys era have gone ahead and done it. But before we take a look at the figure himself, I want to let you know this is a third-party unlicensed product. That means the company Toys era doesn't hold the intellectual property rights to actually call this guy Juggernaut, or in fact put any of the Deadpool branding on the box. So if you are purchasing this, do so knowing full well it is an unlicensed product. Now I purchased mine from toyswonderland.com. I have popped the link down in the description below just for your reference purposes only. This is by no means a promotional video, it's just a review of a product that I purchased with my own money. Either way, with all of that out of the way, if you do like seeing really early Hot Toys third party and of course sideshow content, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon so you're notified as soon as brand new content goes live on the channel. What we're gonna do now, however, is pop the box flat in the light box and do the unboxing. And here we have the box art for the Toys era tank, aka of course Juggernaut from Deadpool 2. Now even though this is my jumbo supersized light box, this thing is enormous. I can't overstate how big this box is, so I doubt a lot of people will have room to actually have this piece of box art on display, but that's not to say it doesn't look cool. You can see a nice silhouetted image of the figure itself. I do believe that's what it is. I don't think it's a picture from the film, but it's got this nice sort of glossy effect, very classy and very simple, and of course the tank up front and center with this really nice gold foiled texture. Now along the side you do have a bit of a tech detail, then on the back you do have an X that actually houses all of the legal information. Now let's get this guy out here. I have been super excited. A lot of people have been asking me ever since this guy dropped, Justin, will you be reviewing the tank? Where will he go in the collection? Have you run out of space? Well, unfortunately I kind of have, but nevertheless we will be taking a look at Juggernaut, and when we do the collection tour, we'll hopefully have found a space for him. But nevertheless, here he is in all of his enormous glory, and yes, he is absolutely huge. I wonder how heavy he's going to be trying to get him out, and he is incredibly heavy. As you can see, he is a big, chunky, thick, and beefy boy, and that he should be. I have to say, the weight on this guy, I'm actually worried for my glass shelves, but we'll have to wait and see if that's an issue a little bit later down the track. Let's pop him aside and take a look at everything he does come with. Now you can see he does come with the alternate sleeves, which I do believe are a pre-order bonus, so if you haven't already pre-ordered this guy, and he is still up for pre-order in some places, go ahead and do that so you get the torn off sleeves, because I am definitely going to be using that look for my personal display, and of course, a couple of hands. So what we're going to do now is get all of the accessories, as few as they are, laid out in the light box, and take a closer look at everything he comes with. And here we have all of the accessories that come with the Toys era Juggernaut. Now as you can see, and you already saw in the unboxing segment, he comes with not a hell of a lot of stuff, but I don't think anyone's arguing that the real value for money with this set is the Juggernaut himself. Now, let's take a look at the few things that he does come with, starting off with the hands. As you can see, they are individual sculpts. They aren't just mirror images of one another, and they are really nicely done. The sculpt is a little bit soft on the gloves, don't get me wrong, but for the size, I definitely think they've done a decent enough job. You can tell what they're supposed to be. They are painted pretty nicely. You can see there is a bit of a skin texture over the top. It's not just a plain plastic hand, which I think would have been a little bit egregious, especially at this size. I'm glad they put a little bit of detail in there. I do prefer actually this one out of the two. It looks a little bit sharper in terms of the actual texture of the hand itself, but overall they are fairly basic in terms of their execution. Now the removable sleeves themselves are actually velcroed on there. In fact, when it comes to the instructions, it tells you how to do it. You remove the sleeves and you use a pair of tweezers, they are actually included, to install the new sleeves. And then once you do that, you'll have the torn sleeve look, which I do think in my display is the look that I'm going to be going for. I will actually show you what it looks like with the sleeves on, and of course with the sleeves off, at the end of the video when we showcase the three usual poses. Now taking a look at the sleeves, they are fairly nicely done, but I do feel like they've literally taken sleeves and torn them up a little bit haphazardly, and also actually gone ahead and shredded them. I'm a little bit worried, like this one right here, it's got strings sort of hanging off here and there. As you can see, bits are falling off. I'm worried that they are going to get even more torn over time. I guess that kind of just adds to the look, because it makes sense, they are torn off, it would look this way, but still, I'm worried that this is going to get slightly worse the more you try and pose him. And here we have the Juggernaut himself standing straight up and down the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that, because let's face it, he really doesn't need any, because this guy himself is literally, and of course on the front of the box, the tank. He is huge, he's beefy, he's chunky, and I love it. Honestly, I didn't expect, as I said, them to actually go ahead and make this, but no, they did, and they really have impressed me. Honestly, I wasn't expecting an entirely custom body. I was expecting them to do some sort of amalgamation of their previous body for the steel, maybe lengthen the legs a little bit, make it a little bit more chunky. Would have looked a little bit janky now in hindsight. I am so very glad they've gone ahead and made a fully custom body for this guy right here. That, for those of you out there who don't know, is an incredibly expensive thing to do, but Toys R Us have actually gone ahead and done it. There aren't that many companies out there that are willing to put all of that money on the line and give us a fully custom figure, but they have, and I really do like the way this guy looks. Now, what we're going to do next is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. And here we have the Juggernaut himself up close and personal. I have to say, this guy looks like an absolute beast, as he should. I'm really impressed with the amount of attention to detail that Toys R Us have put in here, because technically, let's take a look at the design brief. It's a big, chunky boy in a jumpsuit with a metal helmet. They could have gone all the way on the other end of the spectrum and gave us a very simple, very clean outfit, very little weathering on the helmet, but no, they went all out. Let's talk about the helmet first. The cool thing is, and you can't really tell without looking up very closely, but there is a fully sculpted face under there, and there are ears all the way around the side there, so they have gone ahead and made a fully featured head. You can't remove the helmet though, so I don't know why they've done it, but still, that really does show that Toys R Us haven't skimped out. They put a lot of detail into that helmet itself. It's also really nicely painted. And no, before you ask, it's not made of die cuts, it is made out of plastic, but it does do a convincing job of at least looking like metal. Now, this piece is actually movable, it's a fully rotatable piece. There is a bit of foam on the inside there that does protect the helmet, so you don't have to worry about these two pieces colliding, and that's a really good thing. You shouldn't have to worry about it on something as big as this, and they've definitely made sure that you won't have to. Now, the outfit itself, as you can see, it's really nicely weathered. Honestly, I was expecting this to be relatively clean, but they didn't do that. They put a lot of weathering throughout the entire thing, as he should be. I'm sure he's been through some stuff, and this is definitely reflective of that. Don't worry, you will see the sleeves off a little bit later in the video. Now, you can see the hands are actually really nice and chunky, and I have to say, the proportions of this guy, I don't know if they've gone ahead and made an entirely new body for this figure, but I have to say, it looks amazing, and so too does the back. They've even got little weathering, oil stains, and patterns all throughout the entire thing. Now, I'm going to have to show you the outfit in one shot, because this guy is too darn big to fit in the usual light box. This is the jumbo size one, and still I'm struggling to get him entirely in frame. Now, the pants themselves, this is a one-piece jumpsuit. Unfortunately, there's nothing to recreate that particular moment in the movie on the back there, as you can see, so you will just have to make do. Maybe you want to cut it or do something like that, depending on how attached you are to that specific moment. But nevertheless, the rest of the outfit is nicely done. These are actually reflective strips like you'd find on a real-life jumpsuit, which I really do like. This, however, is just painted on there, but you can see all of the weathering does continue very nicely throughout the entire thing, and it looks really darn awesome. The shoes, however, are a little bit on the basic side. There's not that much weathering, unfortunately, but still, they are relatively nicely sculpted all the way down to the bottom there, and of course, the laces are there and present. In fact, the entire thing, the attention to detail has really darn blown me away. I'm really impressed on how big, chunky, and well detailed this Juggernaut really is. Now, just quickly, before we move on to some comparisons, I wanted to show you the detail on the arms themselves. I've taken the liberty of swapping out the sleeves, and as you can see, the tattered ones look really darn good. The Velcro does a decent enough job of hiding. I mean, you can still see it under there, but from front on, you definitely can't notice it. And I have to say, the tattering, I was initially worried about it, but now having it on there, it looks sublime. So too does the detail on the arms themselves. You can see there is a subtle skin texture throughout the entire entire thing. Yes, there is a big honkin' joint inside there, but I'd rather that than the seamless arms like you have on Hulk. Plus this way you do have the option to bend the arms, not destroy the actual rubber over the top there, or pop the sleeves on and don't see the joints at all, and he's pretty much completely seamless. I love the ability to actually choose which way you go on display, but nevertheless the detail is really done nice. All the vein work, all the subtle shadowing and shading, it looks really darn awesome. Now, kicking off the side-by-side comparisons, here we have the Juggernaut himself standing alongside the puny Hot Toys Deadpool. Look how small this Juggernaut makes the Deadpool look, and it's just a normal 1/6 scale figure, but standing alongside him, he is really darn tiny. This should give you a pretty good indication as to how big, thick, wide, chunky this guy really is. I love it. This is awesome. I love when we have different sizes and scales and also widths of figures on the shelf. I think this guy is really going to pop. So for me personally, I do really like it, but maybe a couple of people have actually said that he might be slightly too big. I honestly personally don't think that's the case, but then again, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Now for the next side-by-side comparison, here we have the Juggernaut standing alongside the Steel 2.0, aka Colossus. As you can see, significant size difference between these two, and I personally already thought this Colossus was huge, but you can see just how much bigger the Juggernaut is, and I really do love it. This really does put in perspective how big this guy is supposed to be. I do think that, again, maybe he's potentially a little bit too large, especially standing next to Colossus, but nevertheless, I'm sure people will be able to get these two into some really awesome fighting, dynamic action style poses. That's something that I'd love to see. And of course, for the final Deadpool style comparison, here we have the Toys Era Cable standing alongside their Juggernaut. Now this should give you a rough idea of what the Hot Toys cable should be like in terms of height. I don't assume it's going to be a hell of a lot bigger than this guy, and it gives you a rough idea of what it's going to look like in your display. If you're going down and deciding to pick up a mix of the Toys Era figures and also the Hot Toys ones, I know a lot of people are eyeing off this Juggernaut, especially because the price isn't too crazy for something as big and beefy as this guy right here. And trust me, in hand, he has a presence, and that I really do like. And of course, for the final side-by-side comparison, here we have the Juggernaut standing alongside the Avengers 1 Hulk. And even though I do have him crunched down a little bit, I have to say, the Juggernaut is way bigger than I expected him to be. You can see he actually does tower over the Hulk, and that slight knee bend on the Hulk doesn't really change anything, because trust me, the Juggernaut is a lot bigger in hand. It might not look that big of a difference on camera, but when you have him, the heft, the size, and of course the width, you can tell there is a significant difference. Again, I'm really scratching my head thinking, is he potentially a little bit too big? Maybe? I'm very curious. Let me know down in the comments below if you like the size, if he's a little bit too large. Let me know, as I said, down in the comments below. Just going over articulation on the Juggernaut himself. Now bear in mind, this is my personal copy of the figure, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. Also, he's an incredibly huge, enormous, thick and beefy boy. He's a little bit tricky to wrangle on camera, but trust me, I'm going to do my very best to showcase all of the joints. Now the head sculpt itself, you'll already know, is built in to the helmet, and it moves independently of this collar piece, so you're not hindered by them being connected, and that, in my opinion, is the best way to do it. It pretty much gets the fullest range of motion that you'd expect out of a fully helmeted, domed style piece. Now the arms themselves go up to about there, not a huge range of motion, but for how thick and beefy he is, I think that's more than acceptable. Going forwards is pretty much unrestricted once you move the fabric around, but if you do want to go for the sleeveless look, you won't really have that issue. Now there isn't a butterfly joint up there, and there isn't a swivel at the bicep, but there is a swivel down at the elbow, and of course a single bend. For the hands themselves, they do feel like they are on traditional 1/6 scale style hand pegs for bigger figures such as this guy, and of course the Hulk as well. Now for the torso, it doesn't feel like there's much. There's a bit of a swivel. I'm not getting much crunch, but maybe a tiny little bit. For the size of this guy, I'm willing to allow some concessions on the articulation. On the leg front, they go forward to about there. As you can hear it really is fighting me. They go out to about there. There is a swivel at the upper thigh, and of course a bend, which does appear actually to be a single bend. There we go. at the knee itself, and of course down at the feet, a traditional ball joint for larger style figures. Just wrapping up on the Toys era tank. Now I apologize for this video being a little bit more inconsistent when it comes to how I've had to film it. This guy is huge, that's the long and the short of it. It's a little bit challenging to film him, but I hopefully have given you a rough idea of how he's going to be when you eventually get him in hand. The detail on the outfit is really darn good. While the hands, specifically the gloves, are a little bit softer, I think the detail, the weathering, and the subtle battle damage here and there on the outfit, and of course that beautiful helmet, more than makes up for it. The outfit is very simple, but very well executed. The fact that you have the swap out gimmick for the sleeves, a huge plus, and I'm personally going to be displaying mine without the sleeves because I think that looks even more badass if that was even possible. Now, talking about the figure himself in terms of the body, big, chunky, really done enormous when you pop him in your display next to something like Colossus. I wasn't expecting this guy to be anywhere near as big as he is, but Toys Era have gone all out. I didn't think this was going to happen from any company, but I'm glad that it was Toys Era, because usually their quality is pretty darn on point, including this release right here. Now, as I said at the intro of this video, I picked up mine from toyswonderland.com. I have popped the link in the description below, just for your reference purposes only. If you want to go ahead and pick this guy up, the link is down there. That's where I purchased mine from, but this is by no means a promotional video. It's a review of a product that I've purchased with my own money. And don't forget, this is a third-party unlicensed product. Now, while you're down in the description, why not check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the brand new awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.